Hi, my name is Arya, and welcome to my portfolio. If you'd rather watch than read, then you're in the right place. This video covers an overview, deep dives into each case study, and a bit about me at the end. So if you want to skip around, go ahead. Let's get started. Starting with FastLane. FastLane is an AR shopping platform built on top of Snap Spectacles, funded by Snap. And the core principle was no buttons. Clicking things in the air with no haptic feedback just doesn't work. So the glasses watch what you're naturally doing and react to that. In a completely different space, at FinBox, I designed Sentinel, loan approval automation for banks, and the biggest decision was to stop dumbing it down always. Our users were experts, so we built it for their expertise, giving them maximum power with minimum turnaround time, reducing it by 95%. Then we have Cito. Cursor, but for research. Your papers, highlights, handwritten notes, all in one place, and the AI never loses context over it. It was also my first production deployment built for 1,000 concurrent users. And finally, we have DevFlow, my current project, bridging the gap between how fast AI generates code and how slow humans can actually understand it, allowing product designers, product managers, as well as developers to use an interactive map to understand the code base. That's the overview. Now let's go deeper into each case study, starting with Fastlane. AR is the perfect interface for AI right now. We have voice and camera as input with a first person POV, and the glasses know exactly what you're doing, and there's no opaque screens between you and the real world. That's why I chose it for Fastlane. The problem is when you're standing in Sephora and you pick up something, you read the label, but you still don't know if it's right for you. Online might have answers for this, but it doesn't have the experience of an offline store. Fastlane brings that decision back to the shelf. We raised 32,000 from Snap to build and test the MVPs in Sephora. My contribution was fundraising, AR design, development, as well as the backend infrastructure, which we will see below. From day one, again, the rule was no buttons. In AR, they feel fake immediately. So the real question becomes, how does the system know what you're doing without telling it? We started with a grocery checkout, but the real opportunity was at shelf, where when you pick up the product, we give you instant information when you require. And it is in a minimal state if you don't need it and the product is in view, and it maximizes when you take out your hand so that you can read it in detail. Moving on to the first iteration that we made. Our first version used deliberate gestures and failed immediately. In a store setting, deliberate commands make users self-conscious, so we made a fundamental shift. Instead of waiting to be told, the system started inferring from context. We tried multiple UI explorations where we were trying 3D morphism, but ultimately ended up with a Apple-like minimal interface. The entire application was built in Lens Studio, which is a Unity competitor specifically meant to build applications on top of Snap Spectacles. It uses JavaScript and TypeScript as its main language. The glasses read low fidelity motion data constantly, and only when the system predicts that you can actually add something to the cart, it enables that action. For example, if you're not at a shelf, you can obviously not add any item to the cart. If you're at a shelf and your hand goes inside and then comes out, you have an item recognized, only then can you actually add it to the cart. This algorithm made the entire user experience feel magical. And talking about frictionless, people don't want to spend $1,000 on glasses yet. So what we did was the stores will buy the glasses. People just walk in with their phone app. They wear the glasses, look at the phone, and instant pairing. You just go in and start shopping. That is when you go into an aisle, pick up a product, get all of its information, decide whether you want to buy it or not. You can scroll through TikTok videos from your favorite influencers and make that decision in aisle. By the end, action recognition had an 85% accuracy and SKU recognition had 95% under 300 milliseconds. And the learning, AR has to be magical and invisible. It is a completely new interaction paradigm, and we have to reduce the friction as much as possible. How the behavior prediction algorithm actually held up in a real store, what broke, and the privacy architecture all underneath it, that's the conversation that I would love to have with you. The video walkthrough for FinBox, Cito, as well as DevFlow is on its way. Keep checking my portfolio for the updates, and until then, here's about me. Now let's see a bit about myself. Let's start from the very beginning. As a kid, I didn't want to be Iron Man. I wanted to be Tony Stark. I still do. I wanted to build Jarvis, an intelligent system living in our physical world, knowing what you need before you ask. That one idea set the direction for everything that followed. When I was a kid at 13, I taught myself HTML and spent my Summer in seventh grade, building websites and word games. I used to break things open just to figure out how they worked. And I was always building towards something, even though at that time I didn't know what. That something became clearer in my third year of engineering when I spent months building a smart curtain controller. Essentially, a car sitting on top of your curtain rod, dragging that curtain open and shut. I tried to patent it, but someone beat me by it by 1 week. So when COVID hit, I finally got into product design and I took two 6-month design courses, completed them both within the 7-day free trials offered by University of Michigan and CalArts. I was working 14 to 16 hours a day, just learning and trying out stuff. The key insight was I love to learn. I don't love to be taught. My first job confirmed that instinct. I hated the UI. I redesigned it over a weekend, and when I presented it to my team lead, he rejected the initial idea. But I went over his head directly to the director of product, and he greenlit the project. That was the first time that I understood what ownership actually meant. You don't ask for permission to make something better. This project ended up in me creating the 2022 roadmap and a lot of other features. And then I shifted towards something new, which was FinBox. FinBox is where I actually became a good designer. I made a list of 150 front-end mistakes my first week and sat with the developers for 4 hours until every pixel was perfect. I studied B2B products obsessively until a bad design became gut feeling, and explaining that gut feeling made it credible. In a few short months, I became the team lead for a couple of designers and front-end developers. And that transition was so natural because I kept on thinking about the product. 50% of my work was coming from my superiors, and 50% was just me suggesting them what I should do and the features that I should build. A scope that had evolved so naturally that I hadn't noticed until they tried to backfill my role. And then comes Berkeley, where I became the AR person in my department because I genuinely believe AR is the best interface for AI that exists right now. I have 4 headsets on my desk, a Meta Quest, Xreal, Snap, and Virtue. And that belief is what is shown in FastLane. The itch in my brain, which forces me to build and experiment, is what drove me towards building Cito, where it was actually my friend's thesis and he needed help in building it. I started helping him, but the idea was so interesting, I actually ended up building a production ready application, which is the light bulb moment that actually gave me the inspiration again to restart DevFlow. And that brings us at the end. Tomorrow isn't a placeholder. It's everything that I've done in the past few years that has been compounding towards something. I would love to discuss how that something can be with you. If you want to be a part of what comes next, please reach out to me. My email and resume are in the footer below. Thank you.